We've got a problem, ladies and gentlemen. We need more diversity. There's not enough diversity in the world. We need more representation by people who aren't white. Unfortunately, Hollywood is just plumb out of ideas. They are either going to adapt a book or reboot something, and instead of having the main character be the original character, they are going to gender bend or race bend the character, so that the new show is just the same as the old show, but now there's diversity. Heaven forbid they actually just make a show with good original characters who happen to be non-white or, of various identities. Because I don't think anybody cares when you make good intellectual property and you have original characters who are good characters. And now we have this story from Vox. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is getting a reboot with a black woman in the lead role. You know what? Only someone who is alt-right would be opposed to this. Right? This is a great idea. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is very popular. Why can't Buffy be black? Anybody who opposes this surely is alt-right and racist. Like Anita Sarkeesian, who tweeted, "I just screamed no at the top of my lungs. Why no? Please, for the love of all that is good, please do not do this." Obviously, I'm being facetious. I do not think Anita is being racist. I just think it's very interesting that she's coming out against this because they've done such similar things like rebooting Ghostbusters. I don't know her official position on Ghostbusters, just that she tends to be more of the feminist diversity crowd who tends to cheer on this kind of stuff. She added, I'd be here for a show based in the same universe and lore, say for instance around Frey, the comic, but Buffy comes from a very specific moment in media history, especially feminist media history. I'm afraid no matter how talented the folks involved are, it wouldn't live up to it. I just gotta say, I agree. I agree with Anita on this issue. I'm not familiar with Frey, but I did watch Buffy a little bit. I did watch Angel a little bit back in the day, and like a fan or anything, but fun shows. I like the sci-fi, fantasy kind of genre stuff and superpowers and all that. So yeah, I totally agree. I think this is actually a good point. I know a lot of people are criticizing Anita because they feel like it's hypocritical, but a good point is a good point. So I'll say this right now: please don't @, people. Don't take my video and then go and tweet at somebody. And I wish only the deepest respect for everyone and their ideas. But what she's saying here, I actually agree with, because there are characters within the Buffy universe they could build a show around who are not white. They could take a black woman who is a character in the show and make the show for her. It seems like calling the show Buffy is just a cheap shot. They don't want to market. They're lazy. They don't take risks. So, I was joking earlier. I don't think it's hard to come up with new ideas. I do think a lot of people are straining for ideas. But the reality is it's a safe bet. Buffy worked several times. There was the movie, there was the show, there's comics. I'm pretty sure there's comics. And so they decided, let's just do it again, but we're gonna put diversity into it. So it is kind of interesting to see that Anita is opposed to it, but you can criticize someone because you think they're a hypocrite or something, but if they make a good point, that's all that matters. And actually, I actually wanted to highlight that. I know a lot, like I mentioned, a lot of people are laughing, and in the thread with Anita, they're saying things like, haha, this is what you get or whatever. But that's not what I'm about. I'm gonna point it out, and but we'll move on from this. It's been 21 years since Joss Whedon's Buffy the Vampire Slayer first arrived in the scene with its seminal mix of urban fantasy, teen angst, and clever world building and world play. Now Whedon has announced that he will revive his beloved series with a new generation of Slayers with one major twist. Working with 20th Century Fox TV through its cable and streaming development arm, Fox 21 TV Studios, Whedon will produce an inclusive reboot of Buffy, starring a black woman in the iconic title role originally played by Sarah Michelle Gellar. Why is that a major twist? Okay, I think Vox doesn't understand diversity. First of all, hopefully it's not Fox saying this is a twist. If the idea is it doesn't matter what the race of the character is, then and they can play them, like, yeah, I have no problem with that. That's fine. But Vox is calling it a twist. In my opinion, the problem I have is that it just seems so lazy to take existing characters and just change their race or gender or identity for the sake of appeasing a crowd, when you can just create interesting characters that would work for certain identities. I don't understand why you have to take... But I get it. It's marketing. They think they're going to sell Buffy, and then they want to make it diverse. Here's the thing that a lot of people don't talk about. Demographics are changing. white people are not reproducing as much as they were before. I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me on this, but my general understanding is that in many European nations, the replacement rate, which is a family having at least 2 children, it's actually below that. It's like 1.5 or something. I don't know if it's true for the US. I know it's true for some like Nordic countries. Basically, white people are having less children and they're not replacing themselves. Not only that, but the US is facing a lot of immigration, and certain demographics are having many more kids. So it's expected that, in 20 or 30 years or whatever, white people will become a minority. And that issue is at heart for what a lot of these companies are thinking. It makes sense to have a character, a strong lead character who's white when the majority of the country can relate to that and you can sell to them. But as white people start waning in population and slowly start moving towards becoming a minority, these companies are trying to preempt that and be woke so that when it comes time, they can, try and get as many people as possible. That's basically their goal. And so one of the big concerns these companies have is that we're going to have a very diverse and mixed America in the future, and they need to, let me close Discord, sorry about that. They need to adapt. So, Whedon will be an executive producer, yeah. This is all great news for Buffy fans. However, the original series already had multiple characters of color who could factor in an inclusive reboot, including Black Slayer Kendra, and the first Slayer, as well as other characters. As a result, some fans reacting to news of the reboot online have expressed confusion as to why a reboot has to race-bend Buffy. I agree. When it could simply focus on a different character, some fans have even questioned the need for a reboot of Buffy at all over another vampire fable written by a woman of color. Why reboot Buffy? I mean, look, if you want to reboot Buffy, by all means reboot Buffy. But why race-bend Buffy? I guess it's the problem. They want to reboot. I bet Joss Whedon was like, hey guys, I want to make Buffy. And they were all like, we want diversity. And he was like, okay, let's make Buffy black. Somebody posted this. She said, instead of a black Buffy, how about you just do a story of another Black Slayer? Even better, how about we just let black creators make their own things? L.A. Banks has a whole ass vampire huntress series. I don't know what a whole ass is. Joss did not invent vampire hunters. I agree. You know what I want to point out? Because I've been playing Watch Dogs 2. If you're not familiar, Watch Dogs 2 is a video game where you play a hacker. Marcus, that's his name. His name is Marcus. Marcus just so happens to be a black male. When I played this game, I didn't think twice. I played the game, I had a lot of fun. I think the game's great. Basically, you can use your phone to hack into cars, to hack other people's phones, steal their money. You can file false police reports. You can actually swat people. You're literally swatting. You can, it's kind of like swatting. You can target a person and then forge evidence, and it's a really fun game. It just so happens that in the game, not only is the main character a black male, but there's also another key character who helps guide you in a few different scenes, named Miranda. Miranda Comey. Miranda Comey is a transgender woman, and they have this really great scene where he accuses her of selling out, and she's all like, "How dare you?" But then she gives him a tip, and then he goes on a mission. The thing is, Watch Dogs 2 is an original IP. It's original IP. At least I'm pretty sure it is. You have a game based around hackers who are basically anti-authoritarian, pretty anarchist. Actually, I'll say this too, man, it's a gang, because they do some pretty messed up stuff. Not only that, but you have guns in it and you can kill people. So the point is, you have these characters. It's very diverse. I don't remember a controversy around this. I asked around and no one remembered any kind of controversy over the fact that the main character was black and there's a transgender ancillary character in the game. And we have this narrative that, Gamergate is all about people who hate social justice and it's all white men who hate diversity. And I'm like, pretty sure Watch Dogs 2 is a good game and no one complained that these characters were in it. I think this game's fantastic. I like it better than GTA. I think the controls are better. What I like about GTA is you get body armor. In this game, it's you get, hit 3 times and you die. But I digress. It's a fun stealth game with cool gadgets and hacking. And it never occurred to me, watching the scene. I just watched it. I didn't even notice. But now that I'm seeing, the more you hear about this, these diversity pushes and race bending and gender bending, I was playing Watch Dogs 2 again. I replayed the game, a few days ago. And I was like, oh man, I didn't even realize that. You know, they accuse gamers of being racist and sexist and things like that, or of being alt-right or whatever. And then you see this game that comes out, original intellectual property, and it's great. I don't know if it's sold well or what the deal is, but all I know is I bought it, I played it, my friends played it. You know, I played with my friends online a little bit. Just seemed like a good game to me. I have Watch Dogs 1 as well. And that's what's really interesting, is that when you can make a game, you can make a show, whatever, and have characters who are diverse, and nobody cares. What people do care about is when you take existing intellectual property and then just change the race or gender of the person for the sake of diversity. It just feels so fake. You know, they redid Ghostbusters, they made it all women, and then they had this doofy idiot guy as a side character, and you're like, what is this? It's not even funny. I didn't like Ghostbusters. I watched it, and I don't care if the Ghostbusters are female. I actually think Kristen Wiig's pretty awesome. I actually enjoy her movies, so I was like, this is pretty cool. And I was kind of bummed at how hokey and bad it was, because I really like Kristen Wiig's work. I think she is really good. And so then you see this stuff, and you're like, you can make diverse characters in games. Just make original ones. Is that really so hard? So, you know what? Let's end it off by saying Anita Sarkeesian made a great point that Buffy, it meant something when it came out, and there's no reason why they can't make, you know, in the same universe, the same lore, but with a different character. And I agree. Taking Buffy and race-bending her is not the answer to diversity. The answer for diversity, to be diverse, would be to take existing characters and highlight them, or to make something new. And when you make something new, you get something I thoroughly enjoy and think is very badass. And I watched through this scene where they like argue, and he's like, "Oh yeah, councilwoman," and she's like, "Don't you tell me I sold out." And I'm like, this game's pretty good. And I'm probably gonna go play it in a little bit after I wrap up these videos, because it's just fun. Anyway, the point is, final thought, guys, by all means, bring on the diversity. I'm all for it. Just make new stuff. Is that so hard, you know? Stop trying to change old characters into diverse characters. Just give us some good characters. I don't care that Marcus is a black dude. He's cool. Marcus is a badass. He's super smart, he's talented, and he's the protagonist of this game. Who he is, it doesn't matter to me. I understand that behind that there's like this idea that it matters to people of color who see him and are like, I can relate to that. And I'm like, dude, we should all relate to someone like Marcus. Depending on how you play the game, he's the hero. He's the good guy. And he does heroic things, and he stands up for things that he believes in, whether you agree with him. He's a hero character in a game, and we should be able to create games like this and characters like this, new ideas. Yeah. Anyway, stick around. I've got a couple more videos coming up. Oh man, I think I've got a couple more. I've got another video coming up right now on identity politics. All right, I'll see you in a minute.